Okay, is it 1 o'clock yet?
It is.
Yep, it
Yes,
is.
1 o'clock.
Okay. All right, welcome everyone. It's a new year. It's a new adventure. I see the mortgage folks have been working overtime. We've got lots of proposals and things to look at. Dawn, if you could call the roll, that would be great.
Of course. I also wanted to remind folks that we are live streaming and recording this meeting. Both of those have already started.
Thank you.
Cindy Butts.
Present.
Wendy Clark. Heidi DeWeingart.
Here.
Claudio Gualtieri. Commissioner Mascara Bruno. Matt Puglisi. Lisa Tepper Bates. Greg Ugalde.
Present.
We do have a quorum in attendance for this meeting.
But are there a few people that are supposed to be here that aren't?
I do
I
anticipate a few more.
know Cindy's here, Greg's here, me, Sayla, I think I didn't hear.
Yeah, I was expecting Sailor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do expect a few more members, but they did not respond just. Yeah.
Not yet. Okay. Nandini, I know she did send me an email saying she was gonna be a little bit late, and that's fine. Well, let's wait a minute, see if maybe somebody will join us. Is Pat's business is booming, or is it just the 1 month where we're off that created all the volume?
I think it's a combination of things, Heidi. I think one of the big things was a push to try to get deals approved before any, how do I say this judiciously, fallout from any changes with the new administration. There's obviously there's a lot of anxiety out there, and so I think people, investors, everybody in this, all the stakeholders are interested in seeing deals get approved so that they can very quickly try to piece them together. So you'll see a couple of these deals have a few conditions. We generally try not to bring conditions, but we've heard a lot that by waiting to try to get all of these conditions met prior to presentation to the board, we're really slowing deals down. So we're trying to listen to our stakeholders and trying to come up with a process that meets everybody's needs, including our board members. But yeah, some pent up demand. That it was a big gap, right? I mean, between I think we did November 22nd or something like that, and yeah. So and here we are on the 30th. So
I know it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yep. Well,
we have a couple more that have. We actually had we had one more that was on this calendar that we pushed off to February. So we've got a couple coming in February and then a couple more in March. So we've got some sustainable volume for at least short term. Good.
All right.
So.
Okay, Dawn, anyone else join us? I can't. So.
No.
I texted the commissioner, but she hasn't responded. So.
Okay.
I mean, I think we should probably get going.
Yeah, because this is going to take a while. All right. First up on the agenda is the resolution regarding financing of 10 Liberty, New Haven, and Kylie Walker to present. Kyle, sorry. Kyle.
No problem. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone.
My apologies.
No problem. So 10 Liberty is a 4% LIHTC transaction. There is going to be a demolition of the current building that is there and a new construction of 150 units in downtown New Haven. 149 of the units will be available for LIHTC eligible families, and the last unit will be non-income producing for the maintenance superintendent. 10 Liberty will utilize a total geothermal heating and cooling system that will provide significant energy efficiencies for all tenants. We're recommending the approval of tax-exempt bond proceeds of up to $36,210,000, structured as a one-note construction of perm loan at a rate not to exceed 6.3% for 40 years. 40 years, sorry. This is going to be the second transaction for CHFA with this financing structure. Bank of America will be the construction lender, and CHFA will come in when construction is 100% complete, but before lease up. And CHFA will be taking on the lease up risk in this instance. Our construction bond of approximately 18,610,000 will be outstanding for 6 months, but not more than 10. 10 Liberty is also the first transaction intending to utilize the greenhouse gas reduction fund awarded to Climate United. Other sources in the deal include the CHFA Affordable Housing Fund of $1 million, DOH funds totaling 14.5 million, DECD brownfield funds, which will be used to take care of the demolition of approximately 995,000, a CPC loan from Climate United of 3.1 million, energy credits of approximately 4.3 million, and a deferred developer fee of approximately 3.3 million. This property is also going to benefit from a Section 811 rental assistance contract with DOH to assist 9 households that are deemed eligible under the state criteria for these vouchers. The developer, along with the GC and architect, are all new to CHFA. They have extensive experience in developing, building, and designing multifamily housing in the New York and New Jersey area. 2 weeks ago, we received a signed tax abatement from the city, but in order to close, we're waiting on a letter of qualifications from Climate United, and we're not getting a term sheet from them because then they would trigger Davis-Bacon. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
You said it was phase 2, but these are new developers or builders and architects to us. So someone else did phase 1?
Oh, did I say no? This is the
This
first.
is phase
This is the
1.
only phase.
Yeah, this only phase.
The only phase.
Okay. And is
Yeah.
it near Liberty Square, the infamous Liberty Square project?
No, it's I don't know where that is, but it's
No.
down in Longworth. Longworth near the
Oh,
map.
okay. So it's not right downtown. Okay.
Yeah, so a couple of things, if I might jump in. I know we're short on time, and that's why we
Yeah.
put this one first, because we figured this has a lot of nuances that I want to make sure everybody understands. So the structure that Kyle represented for the tax exempt bond construction loan is something that we did once before with Ellis Street in New Britain. It's where we issue the bonds up front, but we don't put them in until the construction is complete. We've been meeting with our syndicators, and they've, in a lot of cases recently, especially on these 4% transactions, their upper tier investor is a bank, and the bank usually requires participation in the construction financing in order to provide their higher raises. They're getting a 93-cent raise on this. And so what we have found through our research is that if we were to say no to this structure and require our construction financing, we would be looking at anywhere from a 5 to 7 cent reduction in that equity raise. So it is extremely impactful. So we've worked with Hazim, and Hazim's worked with Bond Counsel to come up with a structure that would be acceptable to us. And we've worked with Bank of America to come up with this, to blend the structure so it's acceptable to them. So we think we have a format that we can replicate going forward and make this available in these instances. And again, it's a way of helping to drive the equity raise on this and reducing the gap. So I just want to make sure we were clear on that. So our bonds get issued. They come in at the end of construction. They have to be in the deal for a minimum of 6 months to meet the tax exempt bond requirements. But we also build in a 4-month buffer in most cases, so that if there's construction time delays or anything of that nature, they still have enough time to get their 6 months in. So we're pretty happy with the outcome on this, and hopefully it'll be a good tool for us moving forward. The other thing that Kyle mentioned is the GRRF money. That's Climate United. They got $7 billion to deploy nationally. This is the first project. We've been working with Climate United to come up with a form for them to be able to infuse money into our deals. It's a great gap filler. But as Kyle suggested, standard $1 use of any of the GRRF money will trigger Davis-Bacon, and it would apply to the entirety of the project, which would make these all financially infeasible. So Climate United came up with a methodology where the parent company, CPC, is providing a bridge loan. They received a line of credit from Citibank, and they're providing bridge loans to develop developments like this, to go ahead and cover the infrastructure that they're putting in that qualifies under their terms for Climate United. And then they will then, when everything is closed, take out their own bridge loan. They cannot commit to taking out the bridge loan because that would be a commitment of the GRRF money to the deal, and that also would trigger Davis-Bacon. So that's I think that's as far as we need to go on that. I just wanted to offer that to you because this is a very nuanced deal. It's taken, there's a lot of different sources in this. It's extremely complicated, but it's all come together very nicely.
Question regarding the,
ahead, Greg.
thanks, Heidi, I'm sorry. Question regarding the developers themselves. So they're experienced, just not with us. Previously, you said New York and New Jersey.
Correct.
What type of experience? Because like you said, this is very complicated. You have to watch ratios. You have to do a lot of things on an ongoing basis. We're comfortable that they, while they haven't done it before here, they have experience elsewhere.
Yes, especially Bill Balter, who's probably the lead in terms of putting this deal together. Jonathan Cottrell has some experience, but it's really Bill Balter's experience that we're relying on. Also, coincidentally, CPC or the Climate United people have extensive experience with Mr. Balter in New York. He's done a bunch of projects with them, and they're very, very pleased. They actually told me that he's their best borrower developer. So he comes very highly recommended from New York.
The geothermal component, which is, I think, the first time I've heard us, having that part of our construction.
Yeah.
Does that, are we A, worried about how complicated that is, and B, the funding source, the 7 billion or whatever number you just threw out? We talked about political winds changing. Is that potentially at risk?
No, so they already have their $7 billion sitting in a bank account somewhere.
Really?
So yes, they received it.
Wow.
I can't remember when Sadie told me. I think it was in October, November. They received it, so they have it to dole out.
Okay.
The geothermal. So in order to utilize the funds, they have to have certain qualified installations, and geothermal is one of them. So they were able to take out, this is just a matter of shifting scope, right? So they took out whatever HVAC system they had originally planned, reduced their scope of work by that amount, and then obviously geothermal is more expensive, but when it's being completely funded through a grant source or a very, very soft money source, it still makes much better economic sense. So they have the money. We're not overly concerned about it. They also are putting the bridge in themselves, so we're not at risk on that bridge. So all in all, it's not just the geothermal, by the way. There's other things like triple pane windows and things of that nature. They're going to give us a whole list of the qualifications that they have under the program. So yeah, we're very secure with that.
And because of the structure too, we take up the lease up risk, which I'm not worried about. I don't assume you are either. There's plenty of people who could use this housing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the demand is tremendous. And especially since Connecticut overall on all rental housing in Connecticut, our vacancy rate is like less than 3%. And in these affordable, I think it's somewhere in the 1% range is what I've most recently heard. And in downtown New Haven, there's just such tremendous demand. And there's a lot of commitment to lower income bands here. So.
And we know the materials are available?
Materials are available. Yeah, we haven't really run into too much, and a lot of the GCs have adjusted their ordering schedules and such to compensate for longer term items. Believe it or not, I think switchgear is still a long lead item, but they're ordering that up front, whereas 2 years ago, that used to be the last thing that they ordered. So yeah, we're not realizing significant delays any longer because of scarcity of resources.
I just thought the uniqueness of some of the materials that may be required.
Yep. Understood. What we understand from the GC, it shouldn't be a problem.
Heidi,
Yeah, I'm just, the word just slipped through my head. A contingency. I don't remember reading anything about, 5%, 10%. I know 10 is sort of old fashioned, but what kind of contingency do we have?
We have a construction contingency of 3%. It's about $2.2 million, and that's just
Mhm.
hard cost contingency. And then there's I'm trying to see where. I think the
For
soft
the
cost
interest,
contingency.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
3% is sufficient. In a deal with this size with a $2 million contingency. And
Mhm.
again, this is also all vetted by the investor, which is Bank of America.
Mhm.
And they were satisfied with the 3% contingency.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
You want me to
No.
make a motion to approve?
Please.
I'll make a
Okay.
motion to approve.
Thanks, Cindy.
Second,
Thanks, Greg. Dawn, call the roll, please.
Yep. Cindy Potts,
Yes.
Wendy Clark, Heidi DeWinker,
Yes.
Claudia Gualtieri, Commissioner Mosquera Bruno,
Yes.
Matt Puglisi, Lisa Tepper Bates,
Aye.
Greg Ugalde.
aye.
The vote passes unanimously.
Great. And I see we have some more members joined. Thank you. Okay, next up on the agenda is the resolution regarding financing for Enfield Manor, an extension to be presented by Sarah Simonelli.
Excuse me, sorry for my voice, but so this is a request for approximately 23.8 million in tax exempt bond construction to permanent financing for the redevelopment of Enfield Manor and Extension, which is an existing 80-unit elderly rental housing development currently in the state-sponsored housing portfolio. The proposed project includes the demolition of all existing buildings and then the new construction of 2 new 3-story buildings with 99 one-bedroom rental units. All units will be restricted below 60% AMI and will serve an elderly or disabled population. 62 of the units will benefit from project-based rental assistance, including a HUD Section 202 Project Rental Assistance Contract, or PRAC. All residents, regardless of voucher status, will have access to supportive services. The demolition will happen in 2 phases to allow for on-site temporary relocation for most existing residents. This will create the need for a 36-month construction term, followed by a 40-year perm term, after which the project will again fall under the SSHP affordability requirements. The developer is the Tobacco Valley Development Corporation, a subsidiary of the Enfield Housing Authority, who will continue to own and manage the property. The GC, LIHTC investor, architect, and development consultant on this project all have extensive experience working with CHFA and on LIHTC deals. Other funders include DOH, DECD, and HUD. If approved, this will be our first time partnering tax-exempt bond financing with the HUD Section 202 capital financing, which could provide a potential blueprint for capital improvements on our aging SSHP portfolio. And with that, I can take any questions.
Can you explain a little bit about that project, that program?
The 202?
Yes.
Yeah,
please.
so Section 202 is a HUD elderly program. It really hasn't been used much in a while. The way it works is HUD, they do capital financing, and then they also do a rental subsidy, which is the PRAC. Generally, the way that they size that rental subsidy, they make it so that those units, basically the subsidy cash flow equals operating expenses. So they can't, the units that are specifically part of that PRAC can't carry hard debt. In this case, because we have so many other units, we are able to use our CHFA financing. But this is sort of a new way of working with that program.
Okay, not sure I understand it, but
It's new for all of us. So but it's just.
So we just shift the debt to the units that aren't being subsidized by the 202 program. So we only
Yes.
have a lien on certain units.
Well, we'd have a lien on the whole property. It would be a regular mortgage, but the way the financing is structured, the way
It
that,
has to be segregated.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a way of fitting all the units into HUD's parameters, and then also allowing us to be able to utilize some of the income driven by the other units to provide debt. Otherwise the deals are infeasible. So this is the first deal we're doing of this nature.
Okay.
So again, we see the more complicated stacks are needed to be able to get to where they can close. I mean, so the first two deals we're talking about today have brand new programs that we're working with, which is a good thing. It's just showing the complexity of what it takes, though.
Yeah,
and
this is
two-
actually
the
two programs that existed already that are now are being combined for the first time that we've done it this way.
Yeah, so 202, Greg, usually, I mean, it's a program that has been there forever. It was underfunded. The previous two administration, it came back in this past administration, and it just used to be like, like a smaller projects, 40 units, and they will provide a subsidy for very low income elderly so that they will be able to stay there. So now they are allowed to expand if there are more units to structure with other financing from the state. I did one when I was on my other job at 202 with the state only. I didn't use the tax credits because it was a little new for them too, for the administration. But then because there are bigger projects, they can support some of the debt so that the lower income units get the subsidy so that they can make the operation work.
Okay. I guess that
Heidi,
makes sense.
another quick question, if I
Sure.
may.
Sure.
So, Sarah, it looks like if I read this properly, 5 are going to be HUD VASH. Do we actually know what the need is for HUD VASH units right now?
So those vouchers are coming from the Enfield Housing Authority, and I did ask them. They said that there is a need for them, specifically, with an elderly population, so that they think it will tie in really well with this project.
I just want to make the same note that I think you've heard me make before, which it would be really good to know what is the gap in supportive housing we're trying to fill, because we keep adding units, and maybe that's good, but I think we would benefit from trying to have a much better grip on what is the current stock, what is the gap we're trying to fill, and just know what that looks like. So just wanted to flag that. Thank you.
Okay, this seems like a very important, deserving project. Old units going to be new and we're adding, so I don't have any issues. Is there any other comments, concerns, questions? If not, then can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thanks, Greg. Is there a second?
So moved, Lisa.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Dawn, please.
Cindy Butts,
And she's there.
Cindy, I'm sorry, we're not hearing you. I'll come
Yeah.
back. Wendy Clark, Heidi Weingart,
Aye.
Claudia Gualtieri, Commissioner Mascara-Bruno,
Yes.
Matt Puglisi, Lisa Tucker Bates,
Aye.
Greg Ugalde.
Aye.
Let me just see, Cindy, can we hear you now?
I
Great, thank you very much.
was fighting with my audio button.
That does happen for sure.
Sounds like you won.
You won, yeah.
Well, eventually.
All right, next up on the agenda, the resolution regarding financing for parcel B, phase 1 in Naugatuck, to be presented by Colette.
Hi, good afternoon. Again, this is for parcel B phase 1 in Naugatuck. This is a 2024 9% LIHTC awardee. And the board action request is to approve the following financing. Taxable permanent only loan in the amount of up to $875,000 for a term of 40 years. An opportunity funds in the amount of up to $1 million. This is a new construction project, mixed income, mixed use, 60 units and a small commercial space. There are 3 phases anticipated, proposing a total of 180 units. It is a brownfield site and is currently undergoing remediation by the Borough of Naugatuck, and that site work has begun and is expected to be completed next month. There are 12 units of supportive housing for intellectually disabled clients of the DDS, and 8 units of project-based Section 8 rental subsidy. With regards to other considerations, we have an experienced development team, and the borough is providing a tax abatement. With regards to conditions, we are waiting for a commitment from DOH on the DDS funds, which is forthcoming. Any questions?
Any new risk as you see it? Because this seems, pretty straightforward. Is there anything you're concerned about?
No, I think we're in good shape. I think we'll be ready. The remediation work is underway. I confirmed with the development team that they remain on schedule, so that should be done in February. And with the commitment we're expecting from DOH soon, I think we're going to be ready to start moving this to closing right away.
Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, Dawn? Sorry, we need a motion
Wait.
first.
Yeah.
I'll move it. We got a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, Dawn,
That's fine.
sorry. We got Cindy seconding.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Cindy Bucks,
Yes.
Wendy Clark, Heidi DeWeingardt,
Aye.
Claudio Gualtieri, Commissioner Mascara Bruno. Commissioner.
Yes, I was looking for the unmute button.
Thank you. Thank you. We're all winning against technology today. It's great. Matt Puglisi, Lisa Tepper Bates,
Aye.
Greg Ugalde.
Aye.
The vote passes.
Thank you. All right, let's see. Next is the resolution regarding financing of Rotary Commons out of Stamford, to be presented by Carol Gooden.
Sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. So this financing request is for $14 million to fund the new construction of 39 supportive housing units in Stamford. The building will also include the administrative space for the sponsor, Pacific House, which is a nonprofit that has been operating shelters for 40 years. So this is a 4% project, LIHTC project. The CHFA financing is structured as a construction-only loan in the amount of up to $8,250,000 at a rate of 5.9% for a term of up to 24 months. There's also a construction to perm loan in the amount of $4,750,000 at a rate not to exceed 6.45%. There's also an affordable housing loan of $1 million, and that will be at a rate of 1% and payable from cash flow. In all, the CHFA financing total approximately $147,000. 25 of the units are targeted for households at 30% AMI. 14 are targeted for households at 50% AMI. So 31 of the apartments, 31 apartments will benefit from rental subsidies. DOH has provided a written commitment for 15 wrap subsidies. Those subsidies include 13 2-bedrooms and 2 3-bedrooms. So those are family units. And then DMIS is going to be provided a written commitment for 16 units. And those will be tenant-based vouchers. All of the residents will pay, with the subsidies, will pay 30% of their income for rent, which includes utility. So there are 8 units that are not subsidized. And those 8 units are, the targeted rent for those units are 50% of the LIHTC max rents, which, as you can see from the schedule, is still well below the market rents. The sources and uses also includes financing from DOH, $2,750,000 of ARPA funds, another $2,750,000 of flex funds. DECD provided a commitment for $2,450,000 under the SIF program. The city of Stamford provided a commitment for $1,750,000. The sponsor affiliate Rotary Club is provided a written commitment for $700,000. The LIHTC equity is approximately $8.3 million, and that's $181,000 per unit. There's also a deferred fee of $1.2 million. There's miscellaneous financing, including energy rebates and solar credit equity and developer equity that totals approximately $263,000. Here again, the city of Stamford has provided a written commitment to provide full tax exemption for the property. While Pacific House lacks experience with developing LIHTC projects, the contractor and consultant has extensive history with CHFA. They also just hired a new ED, Carmen Colon, which I've worked with her maybe 10 years ago on a really, really complex LIHTC financing transactions. So I think she's going to be able to lead her team. There's a supportive housing service plan that includes on-site dedicated staff, and that staff position is funded in the operating budget. The repayment risk for the permanent loan is deemed to be reasonable because the rental subsidy will be the primary source of repayment. With that, I'll take questions.
Heidi, can I just jump in quickly?
Sure.
I meant to give you the definition when we did 10 Liberty, because there's under the CHFA resource, you'll see affordable housing fund, and that may be unfamiliar to you. That's our combination of the CMF funds. If you recall, we received a $2 million CMF award this past year. And so that's 50% of that is CMF money, and 50% of it is the match money that we said that we would put forward in our application. So when you see affordable housing fund, that's the combination of CMF and opportunity. If it's just opportunity, it'll say opportunity.
Okay, thank you. So this one is just opportunity, right?
No, this is from the Affordable Housing Fund.
Oh, this is a
so this is the combination. And just so you know, one of the requirements, we had to project how many units would be impacted. And so we were strategic in which projects we were putting the money into. Liberty Street gave us 150 units. This has given us another 40. So, and we have a goal of 340 units. So we're well on our way to achieving that.
Carol,
okay, go ahead.
Carol, would you say are there any concerns with lack of experience or not being able to do something this complicated, or do you think that they will be able to meet the requirements and it seems like they have a lot of support.
They do have a consultant that, has a lot of experience with CHFA projects, and the contractor has been doing CHFA construction projects for decades. So they do have strong support. And again, I worked with Carmen Colon on a project in downtown New Haven, and that project involved creating three commercial units for the former YMCA. So the YMCA had a pool, its administrative offices, and housing, and we had to create three commercial condominiums. There was Federal Historic. She delivered within budget and on time. So again, she's not a novice. She has done some light tech work. It's the actual entity that doesn't have any experience.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
they completed a couple of projects that we funded, the Department of Housing, without the tax credit. This is the first tax credits, and they assembled the team that they needed. But as Carol said, Carmen has been in the field with supporting other organizations with the property management, and she's done a great
What
job.
is Pacific House? What
They are a social service. They also provide shelters and supportive services, and provide supportive units and shared housing.
Okay.
So they serve the homeless and the very low income families and individuals in Stanford.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Okay, any concerns? No? Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Thank you, Selah. Second?
Second.
Thanks, Greg. Dawn?
Cindy Butts,
Yes.
Wendy Clark, Heidi DeWinder,
Aye.
Claudio Gualtieri, Commissioner Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
Matt Puglisi, Lisa Tucker Bates,
Aye.
Greg Ugalde.
Aye.
Vote passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, resolution regarding financing of Terry Court, which is in Willimantic, to be presented by Colette Stover.
Hi, good afternoon again. This is a board action for Terry Court located in Willimantic. We are requesting taxable bonds in the amount of 2.6 million, which is a construction to permanent loan, 30-year term, and opportunity funds of up to 1 million. This is an SSHP property that's in need of significant upgrades and rehabilitation. The existing property is 68 two-bedroom units and 34 buildings, and the scope includes both rehab and the replacement of 8 units. Once completed, the property will be comprised of 2 one-bedroom units, 62 two-bedroom units, and 4 three-bedroom units. DOH approvals for the replacement of units in SSHP property have been obtained, and the new construction units will be ADA accessible and provide a variation in unit size that can accommodate individuals and larger families. There is an existing 20-year Section 8 HAP contract in place for 14 vouchers. And with regards to other considerations, there will be temporary relocation, and there are 20 vacant units on the site currently, so they'll be utilizing those for the relocation process. The loan restrictions will be commensurate with the existing moderate rental program restrictions. And we are utilizing a 3-month operating reserve, and there's a few reasons for this, but primarily the Housing Authority already has an existing capitalized reserve for the property as well. So we'll be holding a 3-month reserve. The Housing Authority is exempt from property taxes, and we are just looking to make sure we have DOH approval on the relocation plan and are ready to start closing calls when we have approval.
Okay. Again, feels fairly straightforward, except renovations are not always. Any comments, questions?
Just Heidi, on the the 20 vacant lots, that's helpful in this case. Any
Yeah,
concern about future rentability? I mean, why are there so many vacant lots, vacant units?
It's mostly because of the condition of the property.
Yeah.
So, and this has been kind of a long time coming, putting this financing together. So as they've had people move out, they've kept those units open. So, it's time, you know, to move forward with this, and get those units, occupied again.
That
Yeah,
sounds
it's a
a
common-
little dicey to move people into units which have been vacated because they're not really
They're gonna
habitable.
rehab those first. They'll
Oh,
rehab
okay.
those first, yeah.
Okay.
So the commissioner and I, about a year ago, drove through Terry Court, and it is definitely in need of rehabilitation. These are little square duplexes.
Mhm.
The Willimantic Housing Authority has, I think, 2 other projects that they've done this on that are similarly situated. So they have a plan in place, and a lot of times you'll see when you're building up to this type of renovation, you'll keep your vacant units so that you could rehab them and then start to do this, what they call checkerboarding, move people from one to the other and then renovate. So it's actually a great in place relocation plan.
That makes sense. Okay, any risk? I mean, the lead paint is always an issue, but luckily they're aware of it and they're gonna
Yep,
deal with
and
it.
that's part of the scope, so that'll be taken care of.
Right, good. Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay, we need a motion to. Okay,
So moved.
thanks,
So
Greg.
moved.
I'll
Second.
second. Okay, thank you. All
Lisa.
right, Don.
Cindy Butts,
Yes.
Wendy Clark, Heidi DeWinder,
Aye.
Claudio Gualtieri, Commissioner Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
Matt Puglisi, Lisa Tucker Bates,
Aye.
Greg Ugalde.
Aye.
And Heidi, just before we move on, can I confirm who seconded that motion, please?
I did, and I think I also heard Lisa, so either one is fine.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
No,
Okay, thank you. Next up is Steve Norris to present the resolution regarding financing of West Hartford Fellowship Housing Redevelopment Phase 2 in West Hartford.
Good afternoon. Yeah, the request is for taxable bonds not to exceed $15 million. It's a construction permanent loan. To give a kind of brief overview of the development, West Hartford Fellowship Housing Redevelopment Phase 2 is a 2024 9% tax credit awardee in the preservation classification. It's Phase 2 of a total of Phase 4 project that will be 300 apartments. This phase is 77 units. Phase 1 is currently under construction. Is also a LIHTC deal with 80% percentage of completion for construction, and it's expected to close second quarter of 2025. This is also elderly housing. And currently Phase 2 consists of 7 existing buildings, as well as existing community center that will be demolished and replaced by 2 larger 3-story residential buildings. Development's also located in Bishop's Corner, West Hartford, and is right next to the library and also the senior center. And just to give a really quick overview of a couple of items, overall total construction costs for $21,696,000, and then a total development cost for $29,365,000. In terms of other funding outside of CHFA, it's $19,032,000 at LIHTC, a $398,000 deferred developer fee, DOH funds totaling $6,235,000, and then also a developer loan of $2 million. Also, the developer is WHFH Development Corporation, who developed Phase 1 as well. So they do have some LIHTC experience. And there is also a full tax abatement agreement between WHFH Development Corporation and the town of West Hartford for a period of 99 years. Does anyone have any questions?
How's Phase 1 going? You said it was underway. How's it going?
Good. They're expected to close the second quarter of 2025. So actually,
Clo-
when this
Close
initial,
meaning it's done?
yes, yep.
Okay.
So when this initial closes, that's expected to final close at the same time. So construction will begin, for phase 2.
So Heidi, we have two, on these construction deals, we have two closings. We have a closing, which is called an initial closing, and that's where we close on the construction financing and everything. And then we have a final close where we close on the pay down of construction debt and any final sources come in that are required. And then you have sort of the operational phase of the project.
So you can say that they are like 80% construction completion?
Yeah.
They are 80%.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall, from our experience with them too, I mean, from phase 1, you could tell they're really soaking in, the issues they ran into. So for phase 2, you're really kind of seeing they're being proactive to make sure those issues don't occur for this phase.
So, any additional risks or concerns you have on this project? Now they have one under their belt. This one should be easier or,
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't personally have any concerns.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments? Sounds like it's a great location.
It is, yeah.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to vote on this?
I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Cindy. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Selah. Okay, Dawn?
Cindy Butts,
Yes.
Wendy Clark, Heidi DeWinter,
Aye.
Claudio Gualtieri, Commissioner Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
Matt Puglisi, Lisa Tepper Bates,
Aye.
Greg Ugalde.
Aye.
Okay,
Vote passes unanimous.
thank you. Okay, okay, also Steve is presenting the resolution regarding the reservation of low-income housing tax credits for Wellington at Madison, in Madison. Our names are getting way too long.
Right?
We gotta shorten them up.
Yeah, so the
Steve.
board request, or the request for this is with the receipt of a mutual consent for a partial return of the 2022 LIHTC allocation for Wellington at Madison. It's to approve an allocation of 2025 LIHTCs in a like amount, which is $72,065 dollars. And overall, just to develop the summary of development, Wellington at Madison is 2022 9% awardee. Currently, the construction has been completed. But there was an inspection for 4 out of 6 buildings. And I'm sorry, there's an inspection and 2 out of 6 buildings did not pass the inspections. They failed the blower door test. So the town of Madison did not issue a certificate of occupancy, by December 31st, 2024. So the outstanding issues are in process of being corrected, and the remaining 2 buildings are expected to be placed in service by February 28th, 2025. So to avoid a major financial impact to the development team, a developer requested that CHFA consider a partial return of the 2022 allocation in exchange for a 2025 LIHTC allocation. So we have internally, evaluated circumstances contributing delays and have determined that exchange is warranted.
Okay, so you're not concerned. I mean, it sounds like a much ado
Yeah.
about nothing. but-
No.
Yeah, so
have-
Heidi,
Okay.
if I might jump in, so we've had these returns and exchanges that we've presented
Yeah.
both at mortgage committee and board before, and you've
Mhm.
asked the question, is this necessary? It's an administrative function, but the way the resolutions, when these were first issued, were written, it required board approval for a return and exchange. We've subsequently worked with Rob Hickson Legal to change the wording in the resolution. And so we won't have to bring these administrative functions to you going forward. And again, this doesn't affect any of our ability to issue tax credits. It's essentially a reclassification of the 2022.
Right, it causes you guys a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, yeah.
Right. Okay, anybody else? Any other comments?
Just quick. I mean, that's the real concern, is the burden that it puts on you, because we don't mind getting another check like this. I mean, it's actually, nice to hear the update and know what's going on
Mhm.
in case there's questions or whatever. But if it's kind of a steep hurdle to be able to get that, we could just get updates other ways,
Yeah, yeah. It's a
right?
lot of work for an update. Yeah,
Yeah. And we got a desperate call from
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
syndicator on December 30th, asking us to process this before their time ran out. So,
All right,
um,
we're losing your audio a little, Pat.
oh, okay.
That's better. Okay. All right. All right. I need a motion. Anybody?
So moved.
Thanks, Greg. Second?
Second.
Okay,
Second.
Lisa. Okay, Dawn.
Cindy Bucks,
Yes.
Wendy Clark, Heidi DeWeingart,
Aye.
Claudio Gualtieri, Commissioner Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
Matt Puglisi, Lisa Tepper Bates,
Aye.
Greg Ugalde.
Aye.
Vote passes.
Thank you. All right, moving on, we have the resolution regarding the recapitalization of the small multifamily community development fund, to be presented by Terry.
Thank you and good afternoon.
Hi.
The board is requested to authorize the recapitalization of the small multifamily CDFI loan program to enable participants to continue accessing the program. Staff additionally recommends expanding the program to include single-family home ownership development. By way of background, in 2014, CHFA launched the program with an initial $5 million ITA investment to leverage its relationships with CDFIs to help finance the small, local investor-owned rental properties not normally financed through CHFA. In 2017, the program's funding was increased from $5 million to $2 million by a board authorization of an additional $2 million of ITA. Subsequently, in 2018, a memorandum of understanding was executed with OPM, and program funding was increased an additional $10 million by a combination of ITA and OPM funds for transit-oriented development and responsible growth. Total investment in the program was $17 million, and to date, $10.7 million has been dispersed, financing 88 properties with a total of 393 units of housing. The average disbursement from the pool is $114,637 per property, or $24,500 per unit. Requests currently being processed total $2.7 million, leaving a balance available in the program from all sources of approximately $3.6 million. There are currently 2 active participants, Capital for Change and the Hartford Community Loan Fund. LISC is in the process of completing its participation agreement. These 3 program participants anticipate submitting requests for more than $3.6 million in the first half of 2025. Funding from OPM for the TOD and responsible growth will be exhausted. Interest earned and loan paydowns currently replenish the program, but not at the extent necessary. The minimum number of units in the project is currently 2, and given the need for affordable homeownership units, staff recommends modifying the program to allow for single-family homeownership projects. So the recommendation is to authorize the program recapitalization with a total of $10 million using state funds, ITA, or other funds as may be determined by CHFA's Chief Executive Officer, Executive Director, and authorize the program expansion to include single-family homeownership projects.
So how does that work? The single family component?
So if you recall, we brought this back in January of 23 to sort of revive the program, and then at that point we increased the, I'm sorry, it was 24?
24.
Okay, and we increased the single loan amount to $1 million. And since that time, we've had a tremendous amount of interest and utilization of the program. And we've actually been doing a little bit of marketing of the program too, including with the HBRA. Greg had us go to a meeting and we talked about it a little bit. So there's a big demand for this under 20 unit financing. What we want to do now, and at that time, the program was originally just for blighted properties, and when we came in 2024, we also expanded that to include rehabilitation. And since then, we've heard from our CDFI partners and from the development industry that this would be a useful program for the development of single-family, either small developments, multi-unit developments, or individual properties. So we will be putting together a program through the CDFIs where they can also start to fund these projects, which both of the CDFIs that we're partnered with on these already provide their own financing for single family development. We're just going to we're going to avail this money to the expansion of those types of projects.
Okay, so we let those organizations define how it's going to be used.
This program is a loan program. It's a loan fund for those CDFIs and nonprofit organizations. We're trying to expand the user pool, but this is becoming a very effective tool. And as word has gotten out about it, more and more people are going to want to access it.
So I have a question on the 10 million using state funds. Is that those are committed from the state?
No, we were very broad in the sources that we might be able to access with this. What we're trying to do is make available another $10 million. It could all be ITA, or there are other resources. We're going to approach OPM to see if they want to continue their contribution as they've done in the past. And so we didn't want to not include the use of state funds, because if OPM is going to contribute, we would want to be authorized to use those funds. They haven't committed yet, but
yeah,
we're providing for that
maybe the
opportunity.
language should be a little bit different, because I mean, the recommendation states that you will be utilizing
It says or
state
though.
funds.
It is an or, so I mean, it gives
It's
us
an or, yeah.
flexibility in the event there is. I mean, if we're not successful, we still have the funding to from our own ITA. But sure, if what do you suggest?
10 in state funds ITA or.
I just don't want to create a situation where we have access to some state funds and we have to come back to the board in order to be able to utilize them.
And so how much ITA funds do you have right now to put into the program?
We have sufficient to cover the 10 million, but in the event that the state came up with 3 million, we could put less ITA and use the state funds first.
Right.
So I mean, I think it's just trying to buy us flexibility, but
that was the intention, yes.
Would adding the words that may include using do what the commissioner would like? So with the total of $10 million,
that may include using
Yeah.
state funds, so that it's clear it may or may not include the others.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And is the intent, and is the intent also that if there was no state funding, then maybe the ITA would be even less, right? That it wouldn't reach a level until we could get those state funds at some point. That would be the intent, or is the 10 million already committed? Not.
I think we've gotten the CFO's blessing to get 10 million from the ITA. It's just if we had access to other funds, we were trying to think of a way that we could use those funds.
We're committed to funding the program at CHFA, but if there's an opportunity for us to receive other funds that could limit that amount, our ITA funds are used in funding gaps on our other projects, so we could make it more effective on that side. So
Heidi, I'll make a motion that we approve with Cindy's rewording.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. Dawn?
Cindy Butts.
Yes.
Wendy Clark.
Heidi DeWenger,
Aye.
Claudia Gualtieri, Commissioner Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
Matt Puglisi, Lisa Tepper Bates. Aye. Greg Ugalde.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next up is also Terry to present the resolution regarding the application of capital magnet funds program for the fiscal 2024 award, which was a little confusing to me.
Yes, thank you. The board is requested to commit for use CHFA's 2024 CMF award of $2 million in its entirety to fund an affordable housing fund, which is an eligible use as defined in the CMF regulations. CMF regulations were updated in June of 2024, just so that you are aware. And one of the revisions was to make the commitments a twofold process. The first is this subject of this request is to have board authorization to fund an eligible use. The second would be funding commitments to individual projects, such as we did earlier today with Liberty and Pacific House. So the CMF is a program of the Community Development Financial Institution Fund of the U.S. Treasury and encourages the development of affordable housing in low-income communities. Through the CMF, the CDFI competitively awards funds and to nonprofits, CDFIs, and housing organizations such as CHFA. These awards can be used to finance affordable housing activities as well as related economic development activities and community service facilities with the objective of attracting private capital to economically distressed areas. In February of 24, a notice of funding availability for the CMF was published, and in March, a request was made to this board to authorize us to apply for the CDFI fund for CMF funding of $2 million. The application was submitted in April, and in October, the CDFI fund announced that CHFA was successful in its application, awarding the full $2 million as requested. CHFA committed to match the award dollar for dollar with opportunity funds to replenish the Affordable Housing Fund established in 2021 with our first CMF award. So as I mentioned, the regulations were updated in 2024, and we are looking at getting your authorization to invest those funds. CHFA identified projects that could be supported by the Affordable Housing Fund to create 366 CMF units, half of which will be targeted for very low-income families, inclusive of extremely low-income families. So to comply with this regulatory update that I mentioned, staff recommends that the board commit for use CHFA's 2024 award of $2 million in its entirety to fund an affordable housing fund.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Questions? No, none? Okay.
We wore you
So-
down?
First
Think
time
so.
ever? No questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make
Come
a
on.
motion.
Thanks, Cindy.
Second.
Okay, who's that? Lisa,
Lisa.
thank you. Okay, Dawn?
Cindy Butts,
Yes.
Wendy Clark, Heidi DeWenger,
Aye.
Claudia Gualtieri, Commissioner Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
Matt Puglisi, Lisa Tepper Bates. Aye. Greg Ugalde.
Aye.
Vote passes unanimously.
Great. I think there's an advantage of going last.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we have next up, we're almost there, the minutes of the mortgage committee meeting of November 19th. Unfortunately, I wasn't there, but anybody have any comments or changes or questions about them?
Motion to approve is submitted.
Thanks, Greg. Is there a second? No second? Come on. Somebody was there.
I was trying to see if I was there.
You were there, Sayla. You get to second it. Okay.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? I'm gonna abstain because I wasn't there. Okay, now we have the homeowners report to be presented by Andrew.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Heidi.
Hi.
I know we are over time, so I will just go through and hit kind of the core highlights for 2024. So Don, if you could scroll ahead to slide 5, talk about the year-end first mortgage activity, this one here. So 2024 ended up being a pretty historic year for CHFA on the homeownership side. We purchased roughly just under 3,900 loans, totaling under $1 billion in first mortgage activity. That's our highest overall number of loans we've purchased since 2007, but the highest dollar amount we've purchased on record. So really a pretty significant year overall. If you go to the next page, next slide. Want to just give you a final update on the Smart Rate program. As a reminder, this was a program we launched in July to help offset the kind of burden of student debt. We did that with a 0.125 interest rate reduction on our first mortgage products. And you can see here, we got roughly under 400 total reservations, most of which have closed so far. You see the median student debt there, but what we really want to note is the median age of these borrowers is roughly 32 years old. That's about 3 to 4 years younger on average than our overall existing portfolio. So some indication that that program was helping reach younger borrowers overall. And then if you scroll down a bit more, I want to just touch on time to own as well. Right there. So in 2024, we purchased right under 2,700 time to own loans or loans with using time to own. And in November, the program reached the 5,000 closing mark. So again, significant demand for this program. And then on the next slide, in 2024, just about half of our borrowers were borrowers of color. So an important metric there as well. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions. I just wanted to hit the highlights given the time frame.
Thank you. I wish we had more time because this year-end results are really.
We almost
I'm
cannot
sorry,
hear
Heidi,
you.
your audio is cutting out a little bit.
Oh,
Audio.
sorry. I find this really interesting and I wish we had more time to present it. Hopefully we will.
Yeah,
The
we
multifamily
but
team needs to stop being so
figure out a
busy.
way to do that at the board meeting if you, or another
Yeah.
board meeting.
Yeah,
doesn't have
I
to
think
be-
that probably at the board meeting, you can present it.
Yeah, I think it would be important. I think it's, to understand and this, to show the results of, especially of the new projects.
Sure. Yeah, if you want to do it this board meeting, it's just a long agenda, so
I know.
I want to be careful, but.
Okay, well,
But
we'll leave it
Andrew,
up to you.
even if you organize those highlights that you just hit, that was great information that
Yeah.
you just hit
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, we can maybe
Okay.
skinny this down.
We can fit it
or,
in. We'll figure it
right.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll leave it up to you, Nandini.
Okay.
Just wave the wand. Okay, and last but certainly not least, the multifamily activities to be presented by Leslie.
Yeah, Yessie, just hit the
Yes.
highlights on this because we have our task force after this.
Absolutely. Excuse me for my voice. I've been a little under the weather. I just wanted to point out there are 2 sections that were taken out of this quarterly report only because we knew that we were going to be a little short on time today. That was the development spotlight and the upcoming transaction in the months ahead. We took it out because we want to make sure we give those developments the time and attention that they deserve and give you guys time to ask us any questions. So that'll return upon the next quarterly report. On this first page, you can see our pipeline at a glance. If you want to scroll down to the next page, here you have our year-to-year comparison. In blue is our 2025, orange is 2024. So you can see where we're at this year. It seems everything is a little bit further ahead than last year. If you go to the next page, you have some news here. And I do want to highlight this new portion. If you want to scroll down just a little bit, this small emergency loan committee. If you want to scroll a little bit for me, please.
Don, could you scroll down a little to small emergency loan? There you go.
Thank you. So there you can
Oop.
see Armstrong Court Phase 3.
Mhm.
was approved an increase of up to $760,000 to the previously approved taxable leasehold mortgage loan for the substantial rehabilitation of 42 units of a 4-phase planned site that will consist of 150 units. And Veteran Terrace 3 was approved the exchange of up to $1 million of the previously approved taxable first leasehold mortgage loan with up to $1 million of opportunity funds or other available sources. And this is the final phase consisting of 51 units, which will be 150 units total upon completion, all of which will receive project-based vouchers under a HUD Section 8 HAP contract. And if you scroll down, you can see our closings, our initial and final closings for the last quarter, and our 3-month look ahead for projects that will be coming your way. Any questions?
Great. Thank you very much.
Good.
You're welcome.
That was good.
Okay, anybody else? Anything else? Any other comments, questions?
I just want to say how much I appreciate the vast numbers of types of housing needs that were in today's meeting. And not just the number of units and the creativity, but single family is in there and rehab is in there. And there's just so much that was able to be approved today, and I appreciate it.
I mean, I also spoke to Pat at the beginning about the new and improved and more efficient, it seems streamlined loan proposal format. We were going to talk about it. We're sort of out of time. Maybe we'll tack it on to the next agenda. Pat?
Yeah, so it's a new format. If anybody has any questions or any recommendations, we're looking to finalize it maybe by the March board and carry it forward after that. So this was the inaugural. If you guys have changes or if you want to see different information in different formats, let us know and we'll see if we can accommodate that.
Let's add it to the agenda for February so that if there's not a lot of loans, we can talk about what we like, maybe how, anything, suggestions.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Just to follow up quick on what Cindy said as well, when we have the number that we had today, you can really see how geographically diverse we are too throughout the state. I mean, it really shined today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also the financing stacks keep getting bigger, as Greg always says.
They do.
Right?
That's
crazy. All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I would like to thank all the mortgage committee members. You guys pose great questions. It's wonderful to have people engaged in this and understand it and voice their opinion. So on behalf of our whole team, I want to voice our appreciation for your participation in this stuff.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's it. I get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
So
adjourn.
moved.
Thank you. For second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Or bye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye and
Thanks,
bye.
guys.
See you in a
Bye.
bit. Bye-bye.
Bye.